Hey guys, so I just watched Revolution of the Daleks, and I'm gonna do this video in a way that I've never actually done before, which is I literally just stopped watching it. And I started to take some notes about it, and I wanted to just kind of do it scripted and read my notes. And I wrote a little bit, but I realized that the more I wrote, the more the mood I'm in from just having come off of it was sort of diminishing. And I really want to just go ahead and do this while it's still fresh in my mind and all these thoughts are bouncing around in my head. And so I apologize if this is going to be a little bit rambling. Sometimes I stutter when I try to record, so I might have some stuttering that I won't necessarily edit out because I want to get this out pretty quickly. So I do apologize for that. But yeah, let's just talk about this Revolution of the Daleks. This is the New Year's special that I just watched, and it just basically came out like an hour and a half ago, and I'm super excited to talk about this. Okay, so what did I think about it? I liked this a lot, and this was a difficult episode for me because it was a difficult episode going in because basically Chris Chibnall had to do a lot of things in this episode. Not necessarily a lot of things, but he had to do some very weighty things. It's no secret that a lot of people really did not like the Timeless Children. And I, by the way, am one of those people. I thought that episode was an absolute disaster. I thought it did things for the canon that were just... basically, the problem with it was, just real quick, it rewrote a lot of the classic Doctor's run. Not necessarily with things that were on the screen, but sort of the lore. And the reason that's a problem for me is, by definition, if you say that something has happened a million times, it makes it less special. If you say, we've always liked the Doctor for the fact that the Doctor found the TARDIS and stole it and ran away from all these expectations, and if you make it so that was destined to happen, and it's happened a million times, that by definition makes it less special, and it makes the show, I think, a little less charming for how that happened, if it was something that sort of seems predestined. So that was something I really, really hated, and Chris Chibnall really had to make up for that in this episode, or at least show people what he was going to do going forward, because I was afraid it was one of those scenarios where Chris Chibnall was going to just say, screw the haters, we're just going to do what we're going to do, and the fans, their feedback doesn't matter, and it doesn't appear that he's done this. So right off the bat, I'm going to talk about why I was conflicted about the episode and why I still liked it, because there were things about it I didn't like. So first of all, I was conflicted going in about the things that just sort of annoyed me, okay? How many times have we seen an episode where a government agency is acting through the mechanism of this Dalek army or something, and behind the scenes the Daleks are doing some shady stuff? How many times have we seen that? It's happened so many times. It's happened more times than I can count. I mean, really, I would venture to say it's happened more times than it hasn't in New Who. The first time with Henry Van Staten, we had that. He's like, oh yeah, this is my Metaltron, and I'm going to use it to do all these things, and the Daleks like, no. So that happened back then. How many times have we seen in New Who, in the Chibnall era, something get brought up that is not vague enough for it to not be annoying, right? We had that reference to the Brexit thing. We had that Donald Trump character that came back. And I said how many times, but it hasn't been that many times, actually. But it's enough to be annoying, right? We didn't need him to come back. And I still think that was something that was just sort of... Just it didn't need to be there, and it was unnecessary, right? And I cringed when I saw that they were going to be addressing crowd protesting. And again, this is not because Doctor Who can't be political. I think Doctor Who should be political a lot of the time, because that is part of what makes the show great, because it's taking this alien that travels anywhere in time and space, and it's addressing these issues through analogies and stuff. And I think that's the way it should always be, because these issues repeat themselves through years, and it kind of gives the episode, the episodes, no pun intended, this timeless feeling. And I don't like when they directly mention something. And that doesn't apply, by the way, to historical things. Like, I think, if we're traveling to a specific time, like Rosa Parks or something like that, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think those things work out great sometimes. I just mean, like, this very obviously taking a political side instead of pushing forward a principle on a particular issue kind of stance on something. That's what I have an issue with. I really don't like that in Doctor Who. I don't think it should be that kind of show. That's a debatable topic, but anyway, those are things that kind of annoyed me when I was going in, and things that kind of filled me with dread, because I'm like, oh no, here we go. This is just going to be another one of those episodes, like with the freaking Earth monster, like deteriorating hazardous waste things from last season. Like that, I was just afraid it was going to be something else like that. And in all of these cases, the issue either didn't really take away from it that much, or it just kind of wasn't an issue at all. Okay? So the things I loved about this episode was just the characters. It was just seeing everyone back together again, and it was almost like a reunion of friends. And I hope that's not just nostalgia speaking, because it's been a few years now. I think that's long enough to build nostalgia about seeing the Doctor and Graham and Ryan and Yaz and that kind of thing. But those characters haven't always been as fleshed out as they are now. I think I like the characters because I've gotten to know them and what they've done with them recently as far as their arcs. Not necessarily just because they're familiar to me. But the Doctor being in jail and how her demeanor kind of changed in there, I liked that. It seemed like Jodie Whittaker was really kind of shining through in that performance. It shows her range. Actually, it's a little bit frustrating because I think this Doctor should be a little more serious. And when she came back and she was just like, hey, with the group again, I was like, what are you doing? Why did you throw that out? Why did you put your hairstyle back the way it was? What are you doing? But as the episode progressed, it turned out that she was actually trying to put on this happy persona, and everyone else is like, what the hell? You've been gone for 10 months. What are you doing? And that partially did feel like the show apologizing for being gone. I mean, that's kind of strange considering that they basically were gone for all of 2016. And I think they were gone for all of 2019 as well, right? Yeah, I think so. So we're not, we're used to these hiatus periods, but I'm pretty sure the show was apologizing for being gone in that time, which is, I appreciate that, it's whatever. The thing that I really, the big groundbreaking landmark thing for me in this episode was the Doctor talking to Ryan and basically being like, everything is different now. I'm not who I thought I was. And Ryan basically being like, look, things change all the time. They have to. But, you're still you. Things are still going to be exciting and new going forward. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to throw everything out. And I got to say, if we're not going to fix the Timeless Children, this is just about the best way I could see Chris Chibnall handling that. I'm not, like I said, I'm not crazy about it. I actually hated it when it started. My opinion on it softened a little bit. But with this episode, I'm like, okay, I at least need to give the dude a chance. I at least need to look at what he's doing with this new arc. Maybe it won't be like every single fan Doctor coming to life on the screen, and it's just going to be diminishing it. And maybe it's not going to be that. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. This episode softened me to that idea. So, congratulations, Chris Chibnall. I mean, I didn't think that was possible. But that worked. Okay, now on to the things that I absolutely loved. I already mentioned the characters, but for as overused as the Dalek story was in pretty much every aspect, okay, let's think about this. The manufacturing facility for the Daleks, how many times have we seen that? The Dalek Civil War, how many times have we seen that? At least they didn't throw the good Dalek trope in there. I mean, how many times have they done that too? And then, like I said, the new Dalek paradigm, and it's like everything was overused. But as much as they did that, I loved this Dalek conflict. I don't know what it was about this. I don't know if it was just, like I said, nostalgia, but like the Daleks being red and having this like so much more rage, and I think in this episode actually being more brutal than normal. Which is, it's odd to say that, but I mean, like, when we had things like Asylum of the Daleks, where we just got, like, a bajillion Daleks, and they're all just talking to the Doctor, like, these Daleks were like, okay, cool, we're in our new shells, boom, 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 indiscriminately, killed the Prime Minister, no, like, absolutely no regard for anything. The new Daleks that came in, or actually the old Daleks, the ones with the blue stalks, okay, I'm going to call them the blue Daleks and the red Daleks. The blue Daleks came in, and they were the ones who wanted to negotiate. And I was like, okay, that seems more like what we're used to in New Who with the Daleks. But, like, the scale of these scenes and it just, the intensity was, I don't know, it was just an adrenaline rush, and I really, really liked it. All the scenes with the Doctor taking time to talk to her companions, not just being like, hey, let's go do this, 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 this. Hey, there's 3 of you and 1 of me, and I'm a Time Lord. Let's not talk about that. Like, they've been slowing down, but this episode really, it's like, okay, each character, we've given them something individually to focus on. Yaz is talking about how much she missed the Doctor, and how much she maybe has a thing for the Doctor. That's a thing that they talk about with Jack. In fact, that's actually how I interpreted it. Maybe I was wrong. But how the Doctor just, like, kind of left, and Yaz didn't like the way she was being so cavalier about it. Which, admittedly, is something we've seen before. But it's a new companion, and we've never really seen the companion in this kind of dynamic individually having those thoughts. So that's kind of new. We had Ryan talking about how much he's actually enjoyed being away. Not that he doesn't like the Doctor. I mean, obviously, he had a great conversation with her, but the fact, that he has actually gotten time to catch up on things and see his dad, not really since Martha have we had a companion that was just like, hey, you're cool, but also, I'm kind of a human, and I want to be on this planet, and I don't always want to be going off and doing things, and I'm going to just leave of my own free will. We haven't really had that since then, I don't think. And again, we haven't, Graham, we didn't really have anything necessarily with him just in the Doctor, because before it was him and Grace, and him wanting revenge, and the Doctor being like, don't get revenge, which, it was nice, but they didn't spend enough time on it, and it just kind of felt like it was kind of swept in. But this time, Graham being like, hey, I like you guys, and I like what you're doing, and, my planet's not that exciting, there's not really much there, but I want to be there for my grandson. That was amazing. That was my favorite moment in the episode. That tore me apart. When Graham was just like, look, I love you, but I want to be there with my grandson. Even if he doesn't think I'm cool, even if he doesn't always want me around, the dude just needs someone to be there for him all the time. His grandma died, his dad is in and out of his life, even though their relationship's getting better. I want to be there for my grandson. Wow, that was a great moment. It's not really... We haven't really seen, in my experience, that kind of thing in New Who. Because it's usually just, do you want to be a normal, boring human and do this kind of stuff? Or do you want to go travel with me? And, we got a little bit of it with Rose and Mickey, I guess. But this is like an older person being like, no, I need to be there for a younger person, actually. And my ability, my desire to be young and cool and kind of explore all these parts of the universe and not feel old is less important than my need to be there and be an older mentor for my grandson. That was great. I cannot stress stress enough how much I like that. Okay, and then we need to talk about Jack. Jack being back. I saw that clip in the trailer with Yaz being like, are you insecure because it seems like you need a lot of praise? And I'm just like, oh gosh, here we go. Here you go, making this like overly political again. But I'm like, no, actually, Jack was very much kept intact with the way he's always been. And that speech that Jack gave about the Doctor, ooh, that was amazing. About, you love the time, and eventually you gotta leave and it hurts, but you stay despite that because of the adventure and because of what it means to you. And, like, to hear that kind of spoken to Yaz, and then for Yaz to stay, and then, but for Ryan to Ryan and Graham, actually, kind of take the exact opposite approach. It's distinguishing the characters. All of them have their own thing now, which I really, really like. Remember how Yaz was a police officer and for 5 seconds, and then we never really went back to that again? And they said Ryan had dyspraxia. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. And then we just didn't bring it up again. Yeah, I like that we're kind of revisiting these things, or if we're just still going to toss something out, we're at least giving them something new to do. Okay, Yaz, we don't really explore the police officer thing much. I mean, kind of when she's doing her spy stuff, but not really. But now it's like, no, she's thought a lot about this, and her relationship with the Doctor is very important to her. And we're going to go with that and see how that builds. Maybe, and that's the thing. Maybe from now on it'll be rubbish. I don't know. But I was very, I loved this a lot. I'm probably going to rewatch it soon because I'm just blanking on a lot of these things. Oh, we need to talk about the Dalek. I apologize. I don't remember his name. But the guy whose back he was on during the episode. We've seen this before in Resolution of the Daleks, and now we have Revolution of the Daleks. So I do think it worked better this time, though, because I think that Resolution of the Daleks was kind of in that weird season 11 bubble where it's all these elements are there that can work well, but it's just not necessarily clicking the way it could. I think this clicked. And I like, this is going to sound weird, but I like that part of Classic Who, where it's like anybody could just die at any second. I don't like this plot armor that the main characters have sometimes. And yes, they do have plot armor here, but it's really typical for the Doctor to be like, okay, I'm going to, this person was affected by this. I'm just going to save them. Or they need to give me an important detail. So, I'm just going to wait till later to destroy them if I'm the enemy, so that they can tell you the important thing. It didn't seem as much like that was happening. In this one, it was like the guy had a reason to stay alive. The host was there so the Dalek could carry out all these things for the lab. But as soon as the guy was just done being used, even though we kind of grew to like him and he was in the episode for a while and he had some, a unique personality, the Dalek just disposed of him. And, I was like, oh, okay. It adds more danger to the episode. And, when the Prime Minister got shot, oh, wow, that just surprised me. I didn't think that was going to be a thing like that. And then it surprised me again because I thought, okay, the big cartoony villain of the episode, he's going to go up to the Daleks and be like, I understand you. And they're going to be like, exterminate, and just kill him. But that didn't happen either. I like that he's a slime ball and they still keep saving him. That's very them. And when he sold them out, when he sold the Doctor out, I was just like, oh, wow, you son of a bitch. I like that gave me that moment. Because, he's usually just like I said, a cartoon slime ball, and it just gets to me that, it's obviously an allegory for Donald Trump, and they got a lot of hate for it and they brought him back. So that kind of got to me, but I love that they did something with him that surprised even me. I was just like, oh no, oh, come on, dude. And then the fact that he got some recognition for that at the end, yeah, it's a little on the nose. Okay, politicians are dishonest, ha ha ha, but it was kind of funny. The fact that he went there to try to, sacrifice humanity, and then at the end he sold out the Doctor more, which disgusted me more, and then he still got credit for it. That is hilarious. I don't know what about that is so funny, Like, maybe it wasn't supposed to be funny, but, like, I don't know. Maybe this is just the American in me with our corrupt politicians, but that was really funny. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about this. The Doctor. Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. I have had a lot of issues with Chris Chibnall's era of Doctor Who, but it is not a problem with Jodie Whittaker. That is not my issue. I think, each actor has things that they're good at and things that they're maybe not so good at. And I think Jodie Whittaker, as far as the big comedy moments with the bouncy humor, she's not so great at that. She's better at the deadpan delivery, I think. And in a lot of Doctor Who, they've tried to give her those, comedy, bouncy line moments, and I just think they haven't gone well for her. Her being, like, the more baffled and serious and, like, sarcastic Doctor, she's freaking amazing at that. And, I loved that she got more of those moments in this episode. When she's talking to the Daleks, and she's like, nope, you lost. Like, that was great. Oh, the shot of her hanging out of the TARDIS and talking to the Daleks, I don't know what about that just made me, like, just fawn over, the way the visuals looked in the whole scene. But, man, that was amazing. I've never really liked Matt Smith's come on then scene with all, in the Pandorica opens. I've never really liked that. And this to me feels like what that scene should have been. Just the Doctor being kind of a smart ass, just being like, oh, really? You think you're gonna do this? Nope. And just like leading them into a trap. And because they're the Daleks, and again, like I said, I've said this a million times. We've seen this a million times, but I don't know. Something about her just being so warm and just very, like, sarcastic, and it seems like she's been through a lot of it. This episode, she's had a lot of turmoil, and her just being so loyal to her friends, but not being, like, afraid to call people out, especially when she gets aggressive. Like, it's surprisingly frightening sometimes when she gets like that. I love that. And when she came back to the TARDIS and the music started, it was like, wow, I don't know. And if there's an episode that solidified Jodie Whittaker as just a great Doctor, it was this episode. Because, I'm just saying, there were so many things about this that I just, like, I didn't know how to feel about it, and I was afraid that it was just, I was like, okay, I guess I'll watch Doctor Who, I'll have high hopes. But I went in just thinking, man, they're just going to double down on this, and it's not going to be very good. And they just, I don't want them to keep the Timeless Child. I still would prefer it if, the Master was lying and the Master was the Timeless Child. Oh, that would fix so many things in my mind. Even that would be okay for me. Even if the Master was, like, the origin of regeneration, that would still be okay for me. I'd be fine with that. I wanted them to do that, but if they're not going to do that, if they are going to double down on the Doctor having all these past lives and stuff, not even past lifetimes, like past life cycles, if they're going to double down on this, I would prefer for them to do it this way. I can't really think of a better way for them to do that than what they did here. And it, like I said, it did make me say, okay, Chris Chibnall, I will give you a chance on this. Let's see how it goes. And that was just an amazing feat for how how not optimistic I was going into this. Is there anything I'm forgetting? I don't know. I'm just thinking through the episode now. Is there anything I really wanted to talk about? Oh, the visuals. Yeah, I'll talk about that. I did talk about, like, the red Daleks and, like, them just zooming around and it just being like, that was great. I'll also talk about, like, some of the designs of the sets and stuff, like how blue that room was, how very, saturated everything was in the design room. Even something like that in combination with the music, just like at the end of last season with the Cybermen. Something about it is just kind of like, whoa, like, this is so serious. This is so extreme. Like, it's like being in a, not like 90s, extreme, bruh. No, it feels like you're in that room, basically, with them. It feels like just hope is lost when that, when basically, like, the dubstep drops and, like, the metals are filling the screen, and there's like all this saturation, and there's these deep sound effects. I don't know. I really liked that. I think it's done very well. And I don't always like the situational music, like when the bass is just like, like that's, it's not too great. I would prefer to have like more of those Murray Gold type themes sometimes. But, I also wasn't a fan of like the Murray Gold, like silly, over the top music, like at the beginning of the 11th Hour. That wasn't too much of my thing. But like, yeah, the visuals of this episode and like the way the TARDIS comes in and like the sounds and the way it looks so neon and bright and the fact that they're like running through corridors of TARDISes and stuff, I really think they're taking the feedback into consideration. I think a lot of people were just like, undo it, and I don't think they're going to do that. And it does still annoy me because it does kind of hamper a little bit of the, like when you're talking about the lore in Classic Who, that does dampen that a little bit. But they are right that things change all the time. I don't think it was Chris Chibnall's right to change that. I really don't. But it might just be something that we're stuck with at this point. And who knows? Maybe he can make it work well. I don't know. Like I said, we still have to see it. We actually haven't really gotten that much confirmation that this necessarily even happened that way, although I'm giving up hope a lot now on that. But I mean, the Master did, or at least the Time Lords, erased a lot of stuff from the Matrix, so we don't really know why they did that. It's very possible that the Master was lying, but like I said, either way, I think it has the potential for them to make it work. Please make it work. Because season 12 was going so well, and then they just did that, and I was like, ah. But before that, it was working quite well, so, maybe they can pull it off. I don't know. And I need to address one last thing before I go. I did this review so quickly just because I am so sick and tired of this wave of YouTubers who just decide that Doctor Who is too political and Jodie Whittaker's ruining everything. Like these YouTubers like Nerdrotic that just constantly just go in there and just drop shit all over everything. And it's like they have a very non-nuanced view of these things, and it really pisses me off, man. Because these issues, as you could call it like putting too much like explicit whatever liberal politics in there, and Doctor Who's been doing that forever, man. I mean, you could look at 70s Doctor Who and see like feminist figures in there trying to push back. You can look at things that were, they name dropped Donald Trump like I think a couple times at least during Peter Capaldi's era. So this is not necessarily a new thing. I've even seen a YouTuber, it's like they get this forgetfulness every time a new season drops, or every time a new showrunner's here, because the showrunner's here, and they're like, oh, this new showrunner's no good. It's not like the last showrunner who was awesome. And then the new showrunner comes after that, and they're like, okay, this one is trash. The last one was good. And I'm like, wait a minute. You just, 5 seconds ago, you said you didn't like this. I see people comparing like the Capaldi era to this era and saying it's no good, but a lot of those same people were saying that, for example, Bill was there as just a liberal plant, and they didn't take into consideration the fact that Bill was very inquisitive, and Bill asked all these questions and did all these things that a lot of other companions hadn't done before. Even Bill pointing out something like the seats being in this awkward position where they're not close enough to the console for you to actually sit on them and do anything. Those things were unique, and Bill happened to be LGBT. And I think a lot of that is the same here. A lot of the characters being disabled, or them talking about racial issues, or all these things. Sometimes you get politics that is not directly related to, like, human rights. You get politics like, for example, let's make fun of Donald Trump and his taxes. And, it's not good to not pay your taxes. Like, yes, we all know that, okay? Like, that's annoying sometimes. But most of the time, when you're talking about politics, is just treat people well. And even if it's newer issues that people, haven't been talked about as much. We might in Doctor Who end up touching on, like, trans rights. We might touch more on LGBT rights, issues of racial equality. We've already touched on these things. Do not mean that the liberal mob has gotten control of the show. It just means you need to pay a little bit more attention to the way the show has always been when it comes to these kinds of issues. And that's not to say that Doctor Who has not had some cringy moments of racism and sexism. It has. But, I mean, it's also, paradoxically, addressed a lot of these issues before and tried to move people to be more progressive on them. So just give the show a chance. I will always criticize things that I don't like. There were big things I didn't like last season at the end. There were things I didn't like in this episode. I really want us to do different things with the Daleks. Please give us new Dalek stories. I mean, I refuse to accept this thing that they say, oh, we're out of ideas. No, there have to be more ideas. Ask the fans. Fans have all these ideas, and they just don't like to listen to us a lot of the time. But, so it would be nice to get some new Dalek ideas. It would be nice to not have the same tropes play over and over and over again. I wish they didn't go this route of either let's change absolutely everything or let's just keep everything the same. Let's strike a middle ground here, right? So I'll always criticize those things, but I'm not going to say that, Chris Chibnall completely has ruined the show, which, ironically, is maybe something I would have said last year. But, come on, guys. Let's not be like this. Revolution of the Daleks. It was very good. I'm not going to say it was great. I'm not going to say it was awesome. It was very good. Great way to start the new year of Doctor Who. At the end, they didn't say when Doctor Who would be back. I don't necessarily mind that. I don't need a strict date because we are in the middle of a pandemic, and it is hard to know when/if we can do some of these things to get the Doctor Who episodes out quickly. So that's fine. I didn't mind that at all. But, everything about this and the ending, hearing the theme crash in at the end, I want to mention super last thing, sorry. Them ending the episode with Graham and Ryan together, instead of it being shot of the entire world, or maybe there's still this danger, or a zoom in on how creepy this is. No, like I said, I think they're course correcting. They're let's focus on the companions and their lives, and we didn't end the episode with the Doctor or the TARDIS. That was great. So I'm optimistic about the next season, guys. Rating, let's see, out of 10, what would I give it? I'm gonna give this an 8. 8 out of 10. Yeah, I am. Because I really like this. It had problems, but I really liked it. Anyway, what did you guys think? Leave me a comment. Sorry this was so long and disjointed, but yeah, I'm excited for whenever this starts, and may the TARDIS be with, I don't know. See you guys later. Thanks.